Welcome, class. Welcome to Tuesday's recording. This is being done in preparation for the week with our hurricane preparedness. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to share my screen here and it should be popping up. Then there it is. So here we are in week 2. And like I said, this is for the Tuesday recording. So here we are on Tuesday. And so we mentioned this yesterday. So it's the worst interview ever. Click in here for your discussion. So tell me about the worst interview you had and what happened, what you learned from it, what you would change. If you didn't have a bad interview, tell me about the best interview you've ever had. And if you've had no interviews yet, you're still on the hook. Tell me what you anticipate you would do so that you would have a good interview. Okay, click on the reply. And then once you've done that, then type your response and then click the reply. All right. And that's what you would do as far as that's concerned. Okay. And so then we'll go on back here. And then the other assignment for today is your mock interview. Come in here. And since most of you are in Tampa, contact Helena Delgado. This is her email. Reach out to her, let her know your availability, and set up that mock interview. Now, I understand this could be a little difficult with everything going on. So, obviously, we will be rescheduling some of this possible. So, try to get that as soon as you are able to. Bear in mind that other classes are doing the same thing. So the sooner you get this done, the easier it is to get the schedule you would like. Now, this is to be done in person. If you are unable to get to the campus for any reason whatsoever, let them know. See if they can do a virtual interview of some sort. They will try to accommodate you any way that they are able to. All right. So those are the assignments for Tuesday. And now let's get into that presentation. So for that, let me get on over here and we are going to go and start that. And here we are. Preparing for the interview. Interviews can cause a lot of stress, but they don't have to. The more prepared you are, the easier they will go. And there are techniques to making them a little bit more, I wouldn't say enjoyable, but a little more palatable. Start with a smile and away we go. So we're going to talk about the 3 types of job interviews to which you can be invited, sources of information on doing research. Always research that company, find out what's going on with them. Talk about in-person versus virtual interviews, types of questions, because there are different types. They fall into different categories, and examples of questions that you should and might ask, because you should be asking them. Remember, you drive the interview. It's not just, let's see what they're going to ask me. You are in control of that interview, and ways to prepare for that. All right, here we go. So at some point, you're going to be asked to a job interview. And this is your opportunity to inquire about details, just like them. So they're going to ask you about that resume. Everybody needs a good resume. That's your foot in the door. That's how they're going to get some information. And they are certainly going to ask about that. This is why we're always honest on that in our resume. And you should know what's on it. Don't just have somebody write it for you and have information on there you're not familiar with. And this is how they're going to assess you. And the information will come as a phone call or an email. This is why you check those emails regularly, at least once a day, sometimes more. And know that if you're getting messages or phone calls and it's from numbers that you don't know who they are, it could be because you have applications out there. So don't be picking up that phone call and going, who dis on the phone when you are expecting people that you may not know to contact you. Be respectful and try to find out who they are or let it go to voicemail and then respond back. That's another opportunity for you to make a first impression and make it a good one. Okay? So please be expecting those. Always be polite and express interest during that phone call. Ask for details to make sure you are setting up the right place and the right time. Always confirm that location and the name. You'd be surprised how many people don't get the name, and then when they get there, they don't know who to ask for. Ask if you need to bring any documents that wouldn't be normal in addition to that resume. Always take more than what is required because they may want to move faster than you might think. They could even offer you the job on the spot, and you may have to assess things or slow them down a little bit. Respond immediately to all emails. And remember, we talked about netiquette always being an issue here. Use it when communicating. Always be polite. Make sure you are checking for spelling errors because sometimes those spelling errors might be a real word, but it can be an embarrassing word. Okay. Make sure you are confirming those interview details. Don't show up late because you didn't confirm everything. This is your career. This is your future. Now, there's three types of interviews. Hint, hint, this could be on a midterm that is this week. Screening interview, structured interviews, and unstructured interviews. Okay? A screening interview is just that. That's their first contact. It's preliminary, informal, and they're just making sure you meet the minimal requirements. These are typically brief, and they're asking you about your skills, your experience, and your availability. Are you going to be able to meet their schedules? Don't lie and say you're available all times, and then they go to hire you, and oh, yeah, I can't work those shifts. That's not a great way to get started, okay? You're going to have a short career if you do that, okay? These interviews are typically conducted by recruiters or a hiring manager through a phone, email, or even a video conference, okay? So this is going to be used to narrow down the candidates. Now, structured interview. These are formal. Everybody is going to get the same questions. Every single candidate. These are also called directive interviews. Okay, if you ever hear that term. Everybody is treated exactly the same so they can evaluate them identically, side by side by side. Some of the questions are very general, but others can be very specific as to how to do something, etc. Now, this is the most uncommon or most common, unstructured. This is where they want you to be more relaxed. They're less formal, and not everybody gets the same question. They're going to gear those questions based on how you respond. So they change from candidate to candidate. And this is because they want to get to know your personality. This is your chance to shine. This is where you really need to know what you know and what you don't know. Don't fill it with a bunch of and stop with the simple yes, no answers. You need to fill the space up with real legitimate answers that pertain just to the question and give real examples. Okay? They don't want to hear about your trip over the summer and this and that or about your Aunt Mary's operation. They don't want that. They want job related, real world answers. Okay? It doesn't have to be related specifically to this job, but it needs to have real examples. Learn to describe things specifically. Quit doing it in general terms. Now, always research that company before. Make sure they're legit. They have real street addresses, no misspellings, know what they stand for. Make sure they align with your values. Check that website out. Look for them. Are they a growing company? Has that company been in trouble and now they're shrinking? If that company's going downhill, you need to know that's not where you want to work. Okay. You need to find out, check to see if they have an About Us section on the company's name. How do they promote themselves? What are their products, their services? Who are their major competitors? And would you rather work for them? This is not a lot when it's your money, it's your life. Okay. And it only takes minutes. It really does, because you can find out so much. And this is going to come in handy because during the interview, you're the focus, you're the star, and they're going to ask questions because they want to know about you. And don't get paranoid, don't clam up, be an open book because you know everything about you. And show your personality. Don't try to be someone you're not. And don't try to guess who or what they are looking for and try to be that person because that will come across as phony. Don't try to guess them. Okay? You tell your skills, your abilities, and be you. And they don't just do this face to face. Okay? Sometimes it's remote. So if it's in person, it's exactly what it says. Everybody's in the same location. Usually it's at the company location, in an office, in a boardroom, etc. But sometimes they rent hotels, they rent meeting space. It's done as what we call a remote location. Okay. But it's still in person. It's just held offsite. Sometimes a company is going to grow or expand, so they do it offsite because they don't want to scare their current employees that they're going to build another location. Because then rumors get around, oh, they're going to close this one and move everything over there, when all they're doing is adding more. So an in-person interview can be local, uh, right there in the office, or it can be held remote. Nothing wrong with that. And one thing that's beneficial is to know how many people are going to be in there because you may be one on one or it could be a group. So this is why you take more than one resume. Take several of them in case it is a group. Because if it's a group, you want to have a resume for each one. You don't want to have people having to look on with each other. Okay. And you want to arrive 15 minutes before appointment time, and you need to be leery of traffic, weather, other delays. Know where it's going to be held and who you're going to see. All this you should know. Know if you have to park in a special parking lot, if you need parking passes, etc. All these things, that's your responsibility to find out. Okay. Now, I mentioned being in a group. Those are actually called panel interviews. Okay, so a panel is an in-person interview, but multiple people in the room. This might be the team you could potentially be working on, and they're going to ask different questions and they're going to have different perspectives. And so, everybody in there, you want to make sure you take note of their names. They're going to know your name. You need to know theirs. All right. So now I want to know from you today this very important thing. I want to know, what is your most hated interview question and why? I want you to make sure you answer not only the question, but the why portion of the question. Right? Because that part is just as important. And that is your Tuesday assignment. That is your Tuesday class.